Hello, fellow scaredy cats. If, like me, you occasionally want to avoid conflict in Civ 7, then what follows is a checklist of things you can do to accomplish that. The reasons you might want peace are you're new to the game and you want to figure out the whole growing and building side of things first before getting into conquering. Or you might just prefer the more SimCity approach to the game. Or maybe you need a little period of peace just to regroup. Or maybe you're at war with one or more civs and you need to keep the other civs from joining in. Or maybe you want to play a quicker game, and being at war all the time slows things down. Or maybe you want to keep as many options open as possible for endeavors and trade. In any of these cases, this video can hopefully provide some options for getting you a breather. What follows here are tips that can help you avoid or at least tap the brakes on conflict. But remember, there are no guarantees when it comes to dealing with a capricious AI. Overall, this video will answer the frequent question, why do they keep attacking me? The first thing you should do is look to the least militaristic leaders in civs as your choices. Now, this isn't a given. A strong military can deter warmongering on the part of others sometimes. But the AI doesn't always respect that time-honored bromide, and the military civs and leaders are less likely to have other abilities to carry you through the game, so it's fight or lose for them. So, focus on civs and leaders that have different strengths. Unless you're the player who will just want moments of peace here and there in the game, but will be warring at times as well, you can ignore this next little bit of the discussion. Otherwise, you'll be looking at civs that specialize in culture, science, or economics, but that preferably offer something in the way of influence and diplomacy. You'll want to avoid civs like Assyria, Persia, Mongolia, and Prussia that need to conquer to succeed. And you'll avoid Genghis Khan, Xerxes, King of Kings, and others like them for the same reason. You'll go with maybe a civ like Tonga in antiquity, or maybe the Greeks, who can balance influence with a strong hoplite defense. Then the Abbasids or Hawaii in exploration, and Siam or Nepal in the modern. There are other choices. These are just examples. Diplomatic civs that focus on happiness rather than influence, while they're great for keeping your people from revolting during a crisis, they're less useful for keeping the overall peace with other leaders. Strong, potentially peaceful leaders include Benjamin Franklin, the two Himikos, Ibn Battuta, Ashoka Renouncer, and Hatshepsut, or Jose Rizal, among others. These are just examples again. Now, these guys can certainly go to war, but they don't have to succeed, and that's the key. Then you want to look at mementos that give you extra influence or extra defense when the influence fails you. Badal's Reigns gives +1 influence per age for each pasture improvement, and Shisa Necklace gives you 100 influence when you become a suzerain of a city-state. These are two of my current favorites for this, but there are others that work. I think of those two first. On the defense side of things, you have Anti-Machiavel, which gives you +2 war support if you're attacked, and Uncas, which gives you +1 war support whether you're attacked or the attacker. Once you're in the game, there are wonders that can help out, but you can't count on getting them. So I'm putting them here to get them out of the way before we look at the things you'll have a little more control over. The relevant wonders are Emil Bell with +2 influence and Wayang Palace with +6 influence, both in antiquity. Right now, as of this taping, it's much easier to get the palace, but that might change with future updates. In exploration, there's Brihadiswarar Temple, sorry for that, with +3 influence, and Serpent Mound with +4 influence. Then, in modern, we have Buddhanath with +6 influence and Dwa Suthep with +4 influence. It's unlikely you'll get all or even most of these, but every little bit of influence can help. Once you start your settlements, you'll want to build the monument and the villa in antiquity, the dungeon and the guild hall in exploration, and the opera house and radio station in modern for their generation of influence points. There are also a few unique quarter buildings that provide influence as well. Typically, though, influence starts to matter less in the modern era in most cases, but a little more here and there doesn't hurt when you can get it. Once you start building your influence, you can consider whether or not you want to befriend independent powers, at least those who are not actively hostile towards you. One key reason for doing so is that you might not be strong enough to take them out, but you still want to build somewhere very near them. And if you build too close to them, they become aggressive and will attack your settlement. To prevent this, you want to use your influence to begin the befriending process. Then you can safely build anywhere near them after that. The relationships with other leaders are more complex, but first impressions do count a bit. You can spend a small amount of influence on a friendly greeting to get a handful of points on the likability scale with every leader. You can also skip this, but my attitude is if you can spare the points, it's worth it. I used to always skip it. Then I changed my tactics, and now I find I'm in fewer conflicts than I used to be. After that, you can improve relations with each leader through joint endeavors, but only if you support, not merely accept those endeavors. But be careful how you go about this. Do you want to enter into a science endeavor with Benjamin Franklin if he's already ahead of you in science? You might, in fact, want to do some espionage to steal some tech from him, all the while entering into other endeavors with him so that you don't provoke him as much if he discovers what you're doing. And remember that other than Benjamin Franklin, any leader you pick to play can only enter into any given type of endeavor one at a time. So you can have a science endeavor with one leader and a culture endeavor with another, or a science and culture endeavor with one leader, but you can't have two science endeavors at the same time, or two culture endeavors at the same time. You can also get a small bump up in your popularity with a leader by sending a merchant to establish a trade route. If you really want to go all in, then hit Improve Trade Relations, which allows you to send another merchant to them to nudge your numbers up a bit. It's very important to do all this before you settle anywhere too close to them. That's the kind of thing that'll get you a huge diplomatic ding otherwise. Well, you still get the ding, but it's not going to instantly make them dislike you. And ultimately you might need to settle close to them, either to get specific resources you want or to establish a path of settlements to the other coast, depending on the map you're playing, or to prevent them from dropping a swath of settlements across your front line. Diplomacy allows you to settle aggressively while pushing endeavors beforehand to soften the blow. There are other things that can tick leaders off. Spying, if you're caught, raises hackles. Raising a settlement, even if it isn't theirs, ticks off all other leaders a bit. In the modern era, you might have differing ideologies, and that can cause your appeal to some of the other leaders to plummet. And while I know we're talking about peace, one thing that can get pretty much any leader licking their lips is a civ that has very little military. In this game, that is just asking for trouble, no matter how good your relationships are overall. So it's a good idea to keep track of how powerful everyone else's military is. And if you de-emphasize this aspect of your game, try not to get too far behind, or you could end up in war after all. The most unfair reason why leaders might not like you has to do with their individual agendas. For more detail on this, you can check out my video about agendas linked in the description below. But the short of it is that if you have a small army, you will please Napoleon Emperor, but a large army will displease him. If you have more influence than Lakshmi Bai, she will dislike you more, and so on. It's a good idea when you meet each leader to make a note of their agendas. Otherwise, when they attack you, it will feel like it's coming out of nowhere. And don't forget that some agendas you might not be able to meet everybody's agenda. You're going to end up in situations where you're going to tick off somebody no matter what you do. When things get so bad the leader's banner picture gets the red hostile icon, then, and not before, you can use the reconciliation tab in the diplomacy menu. That might help defray the situation before they declare war on you, but not always. A good sign is when they themselves also send a reconciliation endeavor to you. So friendliness is one thing, but an alliance brings new advantages and disadvantages. You might decide to pursue an alliance with one or more leaders because there's strength in numbers, right? You get mutual defense unless someone decides to pull out as soon as war is declared. Let me tell you, I've done that, and leaders have done it to me too. But you do get extra yields, better trade, open borders, and increased visibility of the map overall. What you have to know before entering into an alliance is if the other leader is in relatively good standing with everyone. They almost never are. You have to weigh the risk of becoming an ally with someone who's annoyed one or more other leaders. You don't want to get dragged into a conflict. And if you bail on your ally, that costs you favorability points with them. So alliances are situational. They can be good overall or bad overall, depending on your needs. One thing I'll say is try not to get low on influence. If you're tapped out, that's when some leaders will hit you with denouncements or sanctions designed to slow your growth in one way or another. Sometimes there are too many sanctions from different leaders and you won't be able to block all of them. But keep some influence on hand to minimize the diplomatic damage. Also keep an eye on the leader banner on a regular basis, just to see if there are any changes in someone's disposition towards you. Did you miss something? And check on their scores. A high green number is good. A high red number is bad. But you can also see the reasons why they like or dislike you. And that might give you some hints as to what you can make better so that nothing comes to war. But this is all if you find it easier, for whatever reason, to avoid conflict for a time. It's not always possible or desirable, given a sudden shift in demographics that might trigger a leader's agenda, for example. At some point, when all other options are not doable, you might just say, bring it on, and dive into a battle. Many games are going to be a mix of peaceful and non-peaceful stretches. And if you've been keeping your military up, you should be okay when the attack comes. And you should be stronger after taking the time to build and to make sure other leaders are less likely to get involved. Well, I hope this has been helpful to some of you. If you've liked what you've seen or you've heard, please drop a like or a subscribe down below. This has been Civilized Raccoon, and I'll see you next time.